If you'd like to save some money on your food bill, it's time to rethink food prices. The example I'm going to give you in this program is the one I used in my book, Food Science for Gardeners. It illustrates the real cost of food versus what you think it costs. And by understanding that, you can save money at the grocery store. Which of these items is a better buy? Hand-cut iceberg lettuce at $3 for 500 grams, and 500 grams is about a pound. Shelled peanuts at $3 for 500 grams, or Honeycrisp apples at $2. Now, all of these prices were gotten online in the US from Walmart, so that I'm comparing apples with apples, if you like. If you're in a grocery store and you saw these prices, which one is the better buy? I think a lot of you would buy the apples. I mean, they're cheaper. They're only $2. The other two items are $3 for the same amount of food. So what do you get when you buy these foods? Well, you get carbohydrates, sugars, proteins, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, a whole range of chemicals. But one of the items you get the most of is water. And water is really heavy. So what is water worth? Well, it's pretty cheap. You can go to your tap and get it for almost nothing. Or you can go to the grocery store and buy it in bottles. And even then, it's really inexpensive compared to everything else you buy. We do need water, but it's pretty inexpensive to get. So we don't want to pay for it at the high food prices. So let's have another look at these three food products and present the data a little differently. Now, lettuce is about 95% water. So when you buy it, only 5% is actually the food you need. If we recalculate the value of that lettuce, it works out to about $12 for 100 grams. Now, peanuts are quite dry and have very little moisture, about 10%. So when we calculate peanuts, the cost is actually 66 cents for 100 grams. And what about our apples? Well, they're about 80% moisture. They have a lot of moisture as well. And if we calculate the price of that, it works out to about $2 for 100 grams. So apples are about 3 times as expensive as peanuts. Lettuce, on the other hand, is 18 times as expensive as peanuts. And it's 6 times more expensive than apples. So if we only consider the dry weight of these foods, peanuts are a much better buy. When you're buying lettuce, you're buying mostly very expensive water. A lot of what we get in our food are carbohydrates and sugars. Now, we do need those in our diet, but we tend to get too much of that. So those are of less value than some of the other things. One of the important nutrients that's measured in a lot of food is protein. So let's have a look at the cost of protein. So here's the same three food items. The original cost for 500 grams. And then I went online and got the amount of protein in those 500 grams. Lettuce contains 4.5 grams of protein. Peanuts are 130. The apples are 1.5 grams. If you recalculate the cost based on the cost per gram of protein, you find that lettuce is about 60 cents per gram of protein. Peanuts are 2 cents. And the apples, well, they're $1.33. Again, you see that the dry food, the peanuts, is actually a much better buy, even though peanuts have gone up tremendously in price in the last few years. They seem so expensive compared to what they used to be, and that goes for all nuts. But when we look at the actual food we get out of them, it's actually one of the cheaper food items. So now you're in the grocery store and you're wondering, well, how much is my food actually costing? Now, you can go and look up the percent moisture of all the things you buy and do the calculations, but that's a lot of work, and you have to remember all those when you're in the grocery store. Now, I guess you could put that in your cell phone and have the table handy. If you don't want to do that, I've come up with a simple rule that will help you. Think of your food as falling into one of three categories. Very juicy food. So that's most of your fruits and vegetables. Things like leafy greens, berries, squash, oranges, apples, they all have a lot of moisture in them. If you take the price on the label and multiply by 5, that will give you the price without the water in it. The dry things like legumes, the peas and beans, roots like radishes, and even the potato. They fall in the second category. They're sort of dry foods. Take the price and multiply by 2, and that will give you an approximate price for the food in it without the water. The last category is a very dry food, and here we have things like raisins, nuts, and dried fruit. For these items, don't correct for the moisture, just multiply by 1. Now, with those 3 simple numbers, you'll be able to very quickly get a rough idea of the value of that food. Now, that won't give you an exact number, but it's approximate. It gives you a ballpark feeling for what things cost. So the next time you're in the grocery store and you pick up some grapes and you say, I wonder how expensive these are compared to these walnuts. Well, you take the grapes, multiply by 5, and compare that price to what the walnuts are. And now you know roughly what you're paying for the important part of the food. If you enjoyed this program and you think there was value in it, here's a couple things you can do. One is consider getting my book, Food Science for Gardeners. It's full of all kinds of useful information that will make you a better gardener, a better shopper, and it'll help you in the kitchen to prepare nutrient-dense food. Or have a look at another one of my videos right here, 15 Food Poison Myths. See you in the vegetable garden.